Hello traders, welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to take you through my step-by-step analysis of four major pairs: gold, EURUSD, GBPUSD and GBPJPY. It's going to be a top-down analysis from the weekly time frame down to the 4-hourly/hourly time frame. I'm going to be identifying the major trends and also key areas of support and resistance, and also key areas to look out for that we'll be expecting price to react to. So to start off, we're going to start this video off with gold. From the weekly time frame, we can see that looking at the major trend, price has been in a strong uptrend for a while now, and just keeps moving massively, forming higher highs and higher lows. So usually this is my first step, just to identify the major trend on the higher time frame, and on the lower time frame we just need to make sure that that trend also coincides with what we're seeing on the higher time frame. So at a certain point there was a time price was ranging, forming this triangular pattern, which eventually price broke out from strongly and has remained bullish since then. See price forming this strong bullish candle, but over the last week or so the bullish candle, or the volume of the bullish candle has decreased, so which tells me that it possibly could be a retracement coming up very soon. So we have to be careful when we are buying gold. So going down to the daily time frame, again we can identify some key areas of support and resistance here. Again, starting down here, we can see this area of resistance here, which was broken through and became support. There are some minor areas down here as well, which previously was support, price reacting to that area a few times. And then we can see price breaking this area of support here, of resistance here as well, where price reacted to that area about 3 times before breaking through that area and continuing its uptrend. So on this higher time frame we have been able to identify these key areas. Now if we go down to the 4-hour time frame, again we can see price strongly bullish to the upside on gold. So again, if we draw our trend line from there, we can either connect the dots there and see what price is doing. There we can see that price reacting to these areas there, or the multiple touches on this trend line, as well as here as well. So price came down there, and this area as well also coincides with the support level, this area that touched the trend line as well. So just to be mindful of that, that was a key area, and that's why price has reacted to that area now. Okay, so drawing these structures, it's easy to just quickly identify those areas that we are interested in. And now looking at market structure in terms of higher highs and higher lows, higher highs and higher lows there. So I'm going to take you through these moves and explain exactly what's happening and what we expect to happen in the coming days, or in this coming week actually. So again, price from higher high, higher lows, broke this previous high to form a higher high here, which was more or less around the all-time high for gold, this region there, and then came down, failed to form to break this previous low, came down here to touch the trend line and started moving again to the upside. So what we'll be looking at for this week, remember I said on the weekly time frame that the buy momentum has reduced a bit, so we could possibly see a bit more retracement, possibly price coming back up to test this previous highs here, and possibly retracing down, maybe even breaking the trend line and this previous low here. Okay, so if I see price coming back down after testing this area, I'm not going to rush to sell. I'm going to wait to see how price reacts to this next support level, the 3623 area here. And if price comes back here, fails to break below this area and gives a buy signal, then I could be looking for more buy signals there. On the other hand, if price do clear out this previous lows here and breaks it to form a new low, then what I would do is to look for price retracement again, mostly back into the zone to form a lower high, and then look for a buy, a sell trade then to the downside, and just watch price retrace a bit. And that's if you want to sell the market. Or price could clear this previous highs here, come back to retest this and just keep forming new highs until buyers get completely exhausted. Now, for me, generally, I do not sell gold, except if I'm doing it for a very short time. But as a swing trader, I don't generally sell gold. So what I will be looking for as a swing trader is identifying key areas where price could possibly bounce from if price do reverse from these previous highs. So I will identify areas where we can potentially take buy trades from, and wait for price to retest those areas, and that's what I will be doing. So for example, if price comes down, sells all the way, breaks the previous low, comes down to this area here, if price gives me a buy signal, I might end up taking a buy trade from here to the upside. Or if it goes all the way down to this region, I might take from there to the upside. So essentially, this is what I'm looking for gold for this coming week. I'm looking to see how price responds to these previous highs here. So at the moment, price is currently heading towards that direction. Once price gets there, we'll wait to see what price reaction would look like there. Again, a break of this level to the upside might mean continuation of this buy trade. Or if price gives a sell signal, then shoots to the downside, then I would wait to see how price reacts to these various areas of support, and to see if the area would hold for a buy. Essentially, that is my trade for gold for this coming week. Next, I'll be talking about my EURUSD trade. Again, starting from the weekly time frame and then work my way down to the 4-hour time frame. So on the weekly time frame, as I mentioned the previous week, that we were looking at a strong uptrend on the weekly time frame for EURUSD, and we see price bouncing off trend line several times. We're also able to identify some key areas of support and resistance on the weekly time frame, which we can fine tune when we get to the lower time frames. So these were key areas of support and resistance there, and then you have one here as well. So so now that we've identified those areas, we're going to go down to the daily time frame. And on the daily time frame, again, we can see price bouncing off this trend line several times there. Right, multiple touches of the trend line. That we can identify. All right, and now price has come back to this trend line again. So again, previously price making higher highs and higher lows. Price has formed this higher high here because it cleared the previous highs. But now price is currently at this trend line, so we're going to see how price reacts to this trend line for EURUSD. So a break of this trend line could see price come down a bit, retrace up to retest this area, and come all the way back to support level here around the 1.143 area, or even break that a bit lower. On the other hand, we could possibly see price clear this area as well, and clearing the previous high here, and going to the upside. So if price again decides to bounce from here, clearing these previous highs and breaking this 1.192 area, then we might be looking for more buy trades. And when you go down to the 4-hour time frame, we can see that clearly as well, what price is doing at the moment. As I mentioned, price is currently at this trend line here, so we're waiting to see what happens. But if we look at the market structure closely, where price was again forming these higher highs and higher lows over there, we can see price currently at this level, and we would end up waiting to see if price breaks this previous low to the low side, to the downside, and that will give us an idea of possibly where price would head to. So if we adjust this so that we can see clearly these higher highs and higher lows, higher highs and higher lows there. So this last low here is where I'm expecting to see price reaction. So if price does break this trend line and then breaks this previous low, we'll be looking for a retest around this area, so more or less a break of trend line, and then possibly looking for sell trades there to the downside. And it's one that you could possibly hold for a while as well. Don't forget, if you do sell, there are still areas of support here that you need to be very careful of. And price could reverse from there as well to the upside, because on the higher time frame, weekly and daily time frame, price is generally bullish. So these areas that I've identified down here are potential areas where price could reverse from for buy trades. But what I'll be looking for is to see whether or not this previous lows here gets broken, and if it does get taken out, then most likely price will be a sell and the buyers would switch to a sell. As we've seen on the daily candle the last couple of days, where price has formed this strong bearish candle, and you can see on the weekly time frame that the candle that was formed there on EURUSD is a very strong bearish pin bar, which means that there was a lot of selling pressure, and which ended up with price closing below this resistance level of 1.18 area. So that's why I'm expecting that price might end up just again breaking the trend line and moving to the downside, and possibly even all the way down to this point. So that's one thing to watch out for in the coming week. So do not rush to take any trades yet. Let's see how the market reacts to these key areas that I've identified before deciding to take any trades. So next I'm going to talk about GBPUSD. Again, starting with the weekly time frame and then work my way down to the 4-hour time frame. So on the weekly time frame for GBPUSD, again you can see price previously, or price has been bullish as well to the upside, forming higher highs and higher lows. And on this previous swing, you can see that price failed to break this previous highs here. Got close but never actually got there, and rejected strongly to the downside, forming this very strong bearish candle, which could possibly signal the start of a sell market, which we saw on the gold and EURUSD charts as well. If we take this lower to a lower time frame, again we can see price forming this bearish pin bar, followed by very strong bearish candle. Now I'm waiting to see price go back to this trend line here, and how price would react to this trend line. Again, one of the levels that we'll be looking for will be this previous lows here, to see price close below that area as well, so somewhere around this zone here. So I would say if price continues to the downside, breaks trend line and closes below or breaks through this zone here, what I'll be looking for is to price to enter back into this area, look for my sell opportunities here, and continue the sell trade to the downside. And this is more or less a broad picture of what I will be looking at for GBPUSD. And if we go down to the 4-hourly time frame, we can more or less fine-tune this trade to figure out exactly where this reversal point would be. So the lowest point we'll be looking at will be down here. So when price comes down here to break this area on the 4-hour time frame, as if price does break the trend line, I will still wait for price to break this previous low here, and then look for a retest, look for my sell trade around there, and continue to downside until price finds an area of support to form a buy trade. But for now, this is essentially what I am looking at on the GBPUSD chart. Again, when you look at this as well, you can see possibly this sort of M pattern forming for GBPUSD. So it's one that you can look at. That could possibly happen, in my opinion. And as we can see, that downtrend has already started. And if you're not already in this downtrend from the previous week, just be patient and wait for this trade. It may seem that price is passing you by, but when you look at it, if you are very cautious and you plan your trade properly, you can get a sell entry from there. The stop loss just above this area here, and you'll be looking at a reward of around 180 pips. So essentially for GBPUSD, this is what I'm looking at. Again, continuation of the sales possibly, but that's if only price breaks this previous low here, because sometimes you could have price come down here and then back into this trend line and continue the move to the upside. So we need to be very careful when taking that trade. So lastly, I'm going to talk about GBPUSD. Again, we'll start with the weekly time frame and work our way down to the 4-hour time frame. So on the weekly time frame, we can see that again the last week's candles closed strongly bearish, with this area here of resistance more or less where price has failed to close above several times. And lastly, and the last candle formed on the weekly time frame was a strong bearish candle. So again, we're at an area where we possibly are looking for sells on GBPJPY as well, with last daily candle closing very strongly bearish, and prior to that we can see this spin bar forming here as well, which again might indicate possible reversal to the downside. When we look at the 4-hourly time frame, we can see that GBPUSD has been quite choppy, so you need to be very cautious when trading it. But then again, you can always identify chart patterns with GBPUSD JPY to see how they react in most cases, and we can see price breaking that area there to the downside. So as a swing trader with GBPJPY, I'm always very cautious because it moves, and it's one that can make you lose your account if you're not cautious. But if you do decide to take this trade, then I would say this will be a good opportunity for you to do that. And even when you look at the daily time frame as well, this would be an opportunity where price, again looking at the structures, coming to this sort of range there and testing that, and now has broken to the downside. So I'll be looking for more sells for this particular trade for now. But you just need to be very careful and make sure that you've got very good risk management when you trade the GBPJPY. But generally, my bias for this pair as well would be bearish. So generally, for the four major pairs I have talked about, my bias for them this coming week is a shift more towards sales. But we have to be cautious as well, because I have identified areas where this price action might react to. And so if you do decide to take your sell trades, you just need to be very cautious, especially on gold. But I will be looking to see price move to the downside to retrace a bit this week, and then see whether or not at the end of the week, if the sellers will be exhausted and buyers will start coming in, or if we will still have more selling pressures. I hope you found this video very helpful. If you have, kindly leave a like, and if you haven't subscribed, kindly subscribe to the channel for more analysis videos. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great week ahead. Peace.